You can start now. Okay, welcome back. In this tutorial, we are going to be finishing up our GUI, and then I'm going to start putting in code blocks. And I need to go ahead and create another video because I'm going to show you how to add database code blocks today. And in my earlier tutorial this morning, I did not have the database code blocks. So here we go. Let's clean up our GUI. I'm going to quickly go through here on all of these buttons and rename them. So this is going to be BTN Reset. And I'm going to make that reset button 60 by 60 pixels. And I'm going to make it an oval. And I'm not going to have any text because I'm going to have a cool button. Image. So that image, I'm going to upload an image from a file. If you guys don't have these, they're out there. I'm going to choose not a barcode. I'm going to choose the reset button. And I made this in GIMP, and I have a tutorial on how to make this in GIMP. Okay. First of all, I've also noticed that this HA hasn't been renamed, so I'll call this HA buttons. And the background default color is none. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to my next button. It's going to be called BTN Voice. I just went brain dead there for a second. BTN Voice. And its width and height are the same, 60 pixels. And its shape is an oval. Its text is none. And its image is a nice, cool picture of a microphone. And I chose all black, or I'm sorry, gray and red and black, because that's what we are here at Fairfield. We are black and gray and all those different hues of black and red and gray. All right, so the next button, BTN, I'm going to call it BTN Buy. This is where you get to purchase items with your tickets. So when you, let's go ahead and set the height and width to 60. And its shape is an oval. And its text is none. And I'm going to give it a cool image of a shopping cart. And if you don't have these buttons with all the images downloaded, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you Friday as an upgrade day, and you could go there and make your images, and I can show you how to do that all on Friday. Right now, it's important that you have a button, and we can click on that button and get it to work. I want to give some code functionality today. Put the dead mice on my desk. There is a live mice box in my cabinet. You'll see it. It says live mice. This is BTN Submit. 4 buttons. Image. Submit button. Size 60 by 60. And you can see how that has text on it, so you don't want text on it. Delete, enter. And the only thing else I really want to do is I want to go to HA buttons, and I want to align those in the center. So I go to Align Horizontal Center. That centers those up. You're ready to go. Okay. Last thing I want to show you here on our GUI is, well, not the last thing. I forgot some things here. All right, number 1, we forgot a button. When you type in the password, you have to hit a button to check to see if the password's correct. So I forgot this button, and I'm going to drag the password button over to the right. Do we want that to be 30 by 30 and oval like the other ones? Probably. So I'll go 30 by 30. And this password is simply going to say enter. And I forgot this, So once again, that means we probably rushed through the analyzation stage. And once again, you know, if you did, no big deal. You just go back and you make corrections as you go. That's called agile programming. So there's my enter button. Okay. They're going to need to hit enter in order to check to see if the code is correct. And I forgot to do that. Maybe we ought to color that button red. And there it is. Okay. Next thing I want to show you is how to do a cool background. Watch this. You go to Google. Watch how easy this is. Are you ready? You go to Google and you type out cool red backgrounds. And guess what you get? You get cool red backgrounds. Okay? So can someone pick one out for me that they really like? Jumps out to you, you think is really cool. Which one? This one? Like that one? All right, that's cool. So I'll go to view image. I right click on it. I download it. Make sure you get the highest quality you can. And then I'm going to go back to MIT. And then you go to screen 1. Go to your properties list, screen 1. Background image of screen 1. Upload it to screen 1. And there it is. Boom. Boom. Let's see how it looks. Wait for it. Wait for it. Come on. Maybe I missed the button. I did. Boom. That looks nice. I like it. Very active, very active. Now, the only thing I don't like now is all our dark print is too dark. So now you just need to go through here. You need to go to your text and make it white. Okay? Enable button, text, white. This ticket number button here, white. Total is going to be white. This amount right here is going to, you got to change all these to white. Okay? And we're good here. Okay, so everybody see how I have, if you have a dark background, you have to have light text. If you have a light background, then you want dark text. Okay, so just make sure you have contrast in there. And now that should be able to be viewed there. It's pretty readable. We good? All right, now we are ready. If you don't have all your button images, don't worry about it. I'd rather you follow me in code right now than button images, because you have a gray button and we can still click on that button. Are you with me? Okay, so I would rather you follow me in code right now than do button images. What is wrong with this button here? I uploaded the wrong button. Where is my submit button? There it is. See how that had a square around it? I don't want that. That's what I want. So I have a video on I have a video on all the buttons and doing the background screen and all that. If you need to see that, check that out tonight. Let me know what you think. Okay, so I'm ready to go and start writing code. Now, I'm going to introduce you to variables today. Variables are very important in coding. Here's how you think about variables. Let's talk about Pac-Man. Does everybody know Pac-Man when I talk about Pac-Man? Okay, so let's talk about Pac-Man for a second. Let's say you're a programmer and you're going to program Pac-Man. Every time you do a game, there's something you need to remember and keep track of. Okay, and if you need to remember it and keep track of it, you need a variable for it. So what in Pac-Man would you want to remember and keep track of? Score. Who said that? Tyler, come on up, get yourself a piece of candy. You want to keep track of the score. What else do we want to keep track of? What? How many lives you have? Come up, get yourself a piece of candy. You want to know how many lives you have left, right? You need a variable for lives. What else do we need to keep track of? Tyler? Time, yes. That's going to be done with a clock, though, not a variable. But you're right, we need to keep track of time. We also need to keep track of, like, high score. Are you with me? You have score, your score, and we have high score. Anytime you got to think through your app and think through what you want to keep track of, what you want to remember. Okay? So let's go through our app here. Do we want to remember student name? Yes. Then we need a variable name for student name. Do we want to remember the team name? Yes, we want to remember team name, so we need a variable for team name. What about staff name? Yes, remember staff name. We want to remember the authentication code, right? Because if we forget it, then they can type in whatever they want and get in, right? So we have to know the authentication code. What about ticket amount? Do we need to remember how many tickets you gave them? Yes. Do we need to remember your total number of tickets? Yes. So we need 6 variables, 1 variable for all those. Was that hard to think through that? No, once you do it one time, it gets pretty simple. You just got to think through your app, what do I want to remember? And if I want to remember it, I make a variable for it. So here you go. I'm going to show you how to make variables. So guess what? If you want a variable, what box do you go to? You click on the variables box. Okay? And you want to initialize your global variable. Global means it can be used anywhere in the program. If it's local, it would just be alive in that local method. So like if I had a method that said add numbers, and I add 2 numbers together, those 2 numbers would only be alive inside that method. Once I'm out of that method, those 2 numbers don't exist anymore. You probably just send back the total or difference or something. Okay? So global variables means they exist all the time, and I can use them anywhere in my program. So I'm going to take this name, highlight it, and I'm just going to say, okay, this is my student name. Okay, now there's 2 conventions here. You can type out student underscore name, if you like that. I don't do that a lot. I don't like the underscore space in there. Some people do. I don't. So I just do uppercase name, student name, and then the uppercase allows me to read it easily. Okay, so that's and once again, as you guys program and write code, you're going to develop your own little way of doing things, and everyone has their own personal little style. All right, so I have to initialize it to this little purple text box, meaning that your name is going to start with nothing, quote, quote, nothing. So you initialize it to nothing. Just like if you had score, your score would start at 0. So you initialize your score to 0. Okay? So I'm going to copy and paste this and get 6 more. Okay? The next one down is team name. Set it to nothing. That's fine. Duplicate this. Then I want to go and create another one called staff name. Just go to, yeah, you can save the empty screen. And then I'm going to duplicate this, and then I have the authentication code. See, if I'm looking at my sheet right here on my engineering design paper, I'm just going down through all these boxes saying, hey, I need a variable for each one of these. Okay? What's next? After the authentication code, then there is like a number of tickets. So I'm going to say num ticks. But now num ticks is not a string anymore. What is number of tickets? Number of tickets is a number. So you have to go to math and get out a number. Okay? Once you see this one time, it's really not that hard. And then the last thing that I need is, if I'm counting the number of tickets, I need to keep adding the number of tickets they get to the total tickets. And total tickets will start at 0. Thumbs up. Who kind of understands what I'm doing here? Not saying you have to be a pro at it right now, but are you following me what I'm doing? Okay. Was it too hard? No, it's not that bad. You just kind of think through your app. You slow down. You think through your app. What do I want to remember in my app? I do want to remember the student name or the ID. I do want to remember their team name. I do want to remember which teacher or staff member gave them the ticket. I do want to remember the authentication code because we have to know the password. I do want to remember how many tickets they get. I do want to remember how many total tickets they have. You don't want to forget that. So if you don't want to forget it, you want to remember it, you need a variable for it. All right, let's start to program our app. I'm going to go back through my designer, and remember, the way that I program is I use my designer as a checklist. I'm going to start right here at the top, and I'm going to get this checklist to start working. So I'm going to start with this first box, student name. Okay, by the way, while we're here, let's change screen name. Screen name title, let's go down to screen name title. Let's give it a cool title. Let's call it Tribe Pride Tickets. Okay, done. That was easy. Now we got Tribe Pride Tickets across the top. Instead of just seeing not cool screen one, now we have a cool title on it. Okay? So I want to get this barcode scanner to read. Oh, by the way, do we have non-visible components in here? No. So how can we get a barcode scanner to work if we don't have a barcode in here? So now we have to go into our sensors. I need 2 barcode scanners in here. Barcode scanner 1, barcode scanner 2. I'm going to rename them real quick. This is barcode scanner student. This one over here is going to be barcode scanner staff. And what else do I need? Let's go up and have some fun. Let's go to media. Let's put a sound in so when they hit this barcode, we know we'll get a little boop and we'll get a little sound saying that they hit the scanner. So we'll put a sound in. We'll put a text-to-speech in. So I'll have Iris come on and say, congratulations, you now have 35 tickets. You with me? Okay, so we can have Iris come on or Siri come on and say how many tickets they have. Speech recognizer, we need that for our microphone. You guys remember that? We'll get to that. And we need a storage database. So we need a TinyDB. And I'm going to show you, this is why I'm doing this video, because I forgot to do the TinyDB out there. So everybody out there in YouTube land, this is the video you need to watch because it has code for the DB, the database. Remember, if we want to store something, we have to store it in a database. Okay? That's kind of like an Excel document where you just have the rows and columns and you store things in the cells. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, we are ready to begin. Here we go. Blocks. Wait for it. Okay. I need all the room I can get. So the first box, they're going to click on the BTN student ID. When they click on that, we will go ahead and play our sound, sound 1. I want my sound 1 to play. Okay, do we have a sound 1? Nope, we don't have a sound 1. So let me show you how to do a sound. You ready for this? Click on your Audacity software. It's the little headphones with the yellow sound waves going through the blue headphones. Okay. And this is cool. So what you'll do here is you'll go File, New Sound. And this is a file recorder. This is a sound recorder. And all you do is hit the red button. Wait for it. It'll show you when it's doing a sound. I got a lot going on here, so I think I'm killing my computer's memory. Okay, sound, come on. It started. I saw it starting. So this is like GIMP now, and you want to go File, Export. And I'll just call this my indicator. I'll just call this my sound, period 6. and I just hit save. You can go through this like you're like Mariah Carey or someone and say you're the artist and the track number and what album you're working on, all that good stuff, okay? So if you guys want to go home and act like Lil Wayne, you guys can go up here and put your artist and all that good stuff in here. What date, what's the name of your album, all that good stuff, okay? Okay, so now I just go back into MIT, I go into my designer, and I click on sound. Let's go down and find my sound. And I go to the source. You guys see my source there, just like an image? So I'm going to upload a source to my sound, and I'm going to go get this sound file. Did it save? Yeah, there it is. So sound period 6. And then every time I hit play that sound, it will play that sound on my app. Okay, so how cool is that? It's so simple to do. Okay, so once you have that loaded, now when I call sound 1 to play, it's going to go boop, or whatever I recorded there. It's going to go boop. You with me? Okay, so now it's going to play the sound. What else do I want it to do? I want it to call my barcode reader to call and do a scan. And then this is kind of like taking a picture the other day. Remember taking a picture? We had to take the picture, and then after we took the picture, we had to do something with the picture. Okay, so after the scan, so you got to go back to barcode, and you got to go after you scan it, what are you going to do with it? Okay, well, after I scan it, now I want to start to remember it in my variable name. So this is how I'm going to use my variable. I'm going to go set my variable. What variable am I setting? Now that you made all those variable names, now you can go and set these. So here's my student name. I'm going to set the student name to the result of my scan. Okay. Probably shouldn't have called it student name. I probably should have called it student ID, because once again in this app, I don't know if we're scanning in your name or your 6-digit lunch code. So we probably should have just called it student ID. And watch this. I'll show you this real quick. If I go back here and I don't like student name, just click on it and I hit student ID, hit enter, and now it'll change it everywhere in the program. See how it automatically changed here? So it's kind of cool if you ever want to go back and rename them. Okay. People at MIT were smart. Okay, there's some smart dudes over there. All right, now I want to display this in the text box. So I go to set the text of the text box and set that to my global variable. You could have had get result go in here also. That would work fine. I don't know why. I just used the variable, and that's the variable of my student ID. Okay. Now we have it stored in the text box. The text box should show us what we just scanned in. And now you need to store it into the database. Okay, so let me show you how to do the database. This is really pretty simple. It sounds hard, but it's not. You click on your database and you're going to store the value. Okay, a database, you have to give it a tag. You guys ever seen like an Excel document, and like up here you had student name, and then I had all my list of student names underneath it? And then over here you had like grade averages, and then underneath you had all the grade averages. Okay, so that tag at the top is it's like the heading of the column in the database. So I have to give this a text tag. So I'm just going to write something pretty simple like student ID. And I can use spaces there because it's a tag, and I can have spaces into it. It's not a problem. Now I'm going to take my variable and I'm going to get the student ID. And now it'll just put it in that column. And every time I say this is my tag, student ID, it'll place it underneath the student ID column. Okay? Where'd you get the orange one from? The get result. Get global, I just go to variables and I go to get. And when I do that get, I have a drop-down box and I can select any one of these variables that I made. The green one, I go back to the text box right here. Remember that text box inside of that top box? Okay. Make sure you guys are still looking at your engineering design paper. It's so important that you're staring at your engineering design paper while you're coding, so you can go back and look to see what your GUI looks like. Because you got to remember, there's a text box up there. And this is what is hard about coding, is that you don't get to see the GUI anymore. That's why you have to really, that's why we have it down on paper. That's why we do the engineering design paper, so that you have this sitting next to you as you code. So I wanted to scan that in and put that scan into the text box. The user will always have the option of typing into the text box if they want. But the easier way to do it is probably just to scan it. Okay? We good here? Thumbs up. Any thumbs down in here? What's up? Okay, cruising right along. So if I go back to my designer, I have the first box finished. Now I need to go down to the second box. The second box, what are we trying to get? Yep, the spinner to work. So we're trying to get the team name out of the spinner. Are you with me on that? This is pretty simple. I can show you code for this. Okay. So I go back to my blocks, and I'm just working my way down the screen. Cool? Okay. So I go click on my spinner, and I see that I have an after selecting. After they select the team name, I want to register it into my variable. So I'm going to go get my team name variable, and I'm going to set it to whatever they selected. Did you select Andromeda? Did you select Aquarius? Did you select Aries? Did you select Hercules? What did you select? That selection goes into my team name. Okay? We don't have really anything to show that with. We don't have a label to show that with. Probably would have been good. Okay, but we don't have that. So now we can just go ahead and start to put this into our database. And all I have to do here is change the tag. So I'm going to call this team name. Keep it simple. It's a team name. So we're going to call the tag team name. Okay. This then, the value that I'm trying to store is the global team name. So you just stored whatever team they selected gets stored in the database. Cool? Was that hard? This stuff looks intimidating, I know. But when you get into it and you do it one time, you're like, oh yeah, that's not too bad. It's kind of easy. Okay? Now. Yes. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do the next barcode reader. Now, guess what? Let's use some intelligence here, right? Do you think that barcode reader for the staff is similar to the barcode reader like the student? Yeah, they're almost identical, right? So this is almost identical. So watch this. I'm just going to copy and paste. Don't work harder, right? Work smarter. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste. Duplicate, boom. I know they're going to give us an error. I'll come back to that. I'm doing it on purpose. Okay, duplicate, boom. All right, now this one I'm going to change to BTN staff ID. I'm going to play sound 1 again, but I'm going to use barcode staff. This is barcode scanner staff. This is global staff name. And once again, I don't like staff name. It should really be staff ID. Okay, because once again, I don't know if we're scanning in their name. I don't know if we're scanning in my 6-digit lunch number. Are you with me? It's probably going to be a number. So I'm thinking we'll just call it staff ID. And notice here, it'll change that for you. That's pretty nice. They're very cool about that. And then now this is TXB staff name. This one over here is global staff ID. This then I'm going to change from student ID to, guess what? Staff ID. Okay, you guys are getting this. And then this global variable is not the student ID. What should it be? Staff ID. So I make sure everything in that block is dealing with staff and no longer student. But for me, it's easier to me to copy and paste. Copy, paste, do a couple clicks, do a couple changes, boom, you're done. We're done with that. Okay, so now, if I go back to my designer, I am finished with box 1, 2, and 3. I'm down to the authentication code. We're moving right along. Okay, so I go to blocks, and this is where we had to add a button. Once I started coding this, I'm like, wait a minute, back up the bus. We have to have an enter button when you enter into a authentication code. You good? You all right? You good? Okay. You working? Okay, so here we go. When they hit this enter button, oh, and I forgot to name it. Okay, I forgot to name button 1, so I got to go back to my screen. If you guys forget, it's okay. Just rename BTN Enter. Go to blocks. I added a button. I had to add a button because it's not going to check. It can't check the ID that you entered until you press enter or hit an enter button. Are you with me? It's not going to check it until you do that. I called it BTN Enter. They're going to hit enter on that button. So here we go. BTN entered. When BTN entered is click. Now this brought about a whole lot of thinking for me. So my thought process is this. Are you ready? If they don't enter the right password, I'm not even going to let them see the spinner that allows them to choose the number of tickets. Are you with me? You don't even get to see it. So watch this. I'm going to go to screen 1. Screen 1 has initialization phase. So, and this happens when you click on the icon in your app store or your app screen, and you click on your icon, and it comes up, and that screen comes up. That's the initialization screen. So when we go through that initialization screen, watch this. I am not going to even give them access to the spinner for the number of tickets. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, okay, the spinner of number of tickets is invisible. So you go to logic, and you say that the visibility is false. You don't get to see it. When are we going to turn it on and turn it to true? When they get the password right. That way, if you don't enter the password right, you don't even get to select tickets. Are you with me? And then we could do the same thing here with this button. Remember this button down here? What was it? BTN counter. I spelled it wrong. That's all right. So even the BTN counter, we can say its visibility is false until they enter in the right password. So now I have to do an if block. If they enter in the right password, go to control. Okay. And we have to do a logical assessment to see if what the password they entered in is correct. Remember the password is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So now I have to go to logic, and I have to see if these two are equal. Is the password that they entered into equal to what my password is? Okay. It doesn't really matter which side of the box you put these on. So I'm just going to say, does my password, the variable, get my variable? What variable is it? It's the authorization code, right? Is the authorization code that we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, is that set equal to what they typed into the box? So you go and get the password text and see, and remember, you go up here. This has to, oh, no, we didn't put it in. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and set the authorization code to be 1234. So you go up here and you type in 1234. Okay. If they type in 1234, what am I going to do? I'm going to duplicate this whole block. I'm going to put this over here, but I'm going to say if they get the password right, then I want that to show up. And now I'm going to allow them to select the number of tickets. If they don't get it right, you with me? So if a student has this app and they don't know the authorization code, they're not even going to be allowed to select tickets. You see how this makes sense? You have to know the tickets. You have to know the code in order to give tickets out. Okay? And now, what are we going to do with these tickets? We have to start setting. 5 minutes left. Okay? So now, what do we do with the tickets? Now, we can go to the spinner. And after they select the number of tickets, I can register it with my variable, set my variable, number of tickets, equal to the selection on how many tickets they assigned. And then I need to throw that into it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have a label now to show how many tickets. Where is it down here? Here it is, LBL ticket count. Okay, so I go to that text and I set the variable. And this is the number of tickets they just got. Okay. And now I have to do some math